Alright guys, the devs just dropped another patch into the game this Tuesday, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. They've been pretty regular with these since Corner came out. You know, they've managed to juggle festivals and balance releases and all that good stuff. Well, today is not just a Gemstore patch and minor changes, but it's also seen the addition of 3 new weapons with big collections. Well, not that big, but collections on how to acquire them, and they're pretty cool. So, what this is in relation to is something that happened about a year ago when the 5th anniversary for Guild Wars 2 was flying around, and also, as it happens, POF was around releasing. Yeah, that means we're about at the 6th anniversary, which I'll talk about in a second. But rewinding the clock, they announced this, the 2017 DesignAWeapon Contest. You guys remember this? And so this was them bringing back something that they did way back when in the Guild Wars 1 era, and everybody really enjoyed. So fans were able to submit designs for weapons that would become gear in-game eventually. Back in December, they announced the winners, and there was this post announcing these big 3 here. The first place was this torch by Mikeb, then there was a great sword by Glaciation, and a sword by Enigma Hyena. If you remember, I talked about this quite a bit when they first came out. I'll just scroll through and show you some of the other lovely designs. Well, 3 of those have now just made it in-game, which is pretty interesting, especially as an insight into just how long it takes them to wrangle the art and figure this stuff out. So the post that they just dropped is by Alexander Youngblood, who, as you guys should know, is associated with a lot of the current events and content like this that seems to go into the game. It's called Arm Yourself with Winning Weapons, and here's some tantalizing screenies. They say the top 3 weapons from our Designer Weapon Contest are now available for you to earn in Guild Wars 2. Dive into the stories of 3 fading ghosts who died before being able to fulfill their deepest wishes. I wanted the weapons and their stories to be the focus of this release. Each story takes place entirely on one map, and it is inspired by the look of the weapons. The ghosts appear around the map in different spots. Learn what happened to them so you can help them fulfill their wishes and accept their fates. Help back in, earn renown, and gain the stately torch favor of the Colossus. Show Zenith the hope of a brave new world so she can complete her powerful greatsword Eclipse, or mend Nayeli of the Zephyrite splintered soul to receive a sword with a purpose, the Scion's Claw. All of the collections can be unlocked by creating ectoplasm-infused vision crystal in the Mystic Forge. Visit Lion's Arch to receive the recipe. Yeah, if you haven't managed to play much Festival of the Four Winds, there's a Zephyrite mentioned there. Zephyrite are still around. That means that there's the new Sovereign stuff that they've added. That means there's the new Grand Wind Catchers. There's just been a lot of, and now there's been a lot of small skins that have suddenly just appeared in Guild Wars 2 over the past couple of little patches. Lots of things to go for. As to the designs themselves, obviously, you can make up your own mind as to how good they look. Particularly, I really like the purple-looking hand. That thing's awesome, but I was a big fan of the Burning of Ipos too, and I know a lot of people hate it. I know that the Greatsword has had a lot of discussion from the community. Some people thinking it looks a bit tacky. The moons basically on there are just looking like stickers, but other people utterly in love with it and think it's the best thing that they've ever seen for their mesmers and whatnot. Even matches Fractal gear a little bit as far as I've seen from a Reddit thread. And then finally, a much more simplistic looking sword that nonetheless is accented in its own way. They kind of hit a good range, I think, of the sensibilities of different players and what kind of gear we look for. So yeah, there you go. Now, on this video, I'm not going to go through and collect them all. Apparently, if you follow a guide, it doesn't take too long. I don't really like following guides with stuff like that. I like immersing myself and reading the in-game descriptions and thinking about the environment. You will likely see, just as I do for all these little videos, I'll rouse Boots from his slumber and we'll bring him back and we'll have a video on that. So keep your eye out as time goes forward. So yeah, that is the main facet of this patch, frankly. But there are some other things going on as well. Obviously, I just mentioned the 6th anniversary is coming up, and the devs are capitalizing on that. As you guys probably know, most years when an anniversary is due to come around, what the devs do is Gemstore sales, and here they are announcing it again. Guild Wars 2 anniversary sales. It's not long until the 6th Guild Wars 2 anniversary, and we're celebrating with sales every week. Keep an eye on the Gemstore for new sales and returning items. So if you've been holding out on getting your character slots or whatever, I guess this is the time to do it. The 6th anniversary to me is fairly profound in that I remember the 6th anniversary for Guild Wars 2 was for Guild Wars 1, sorry, was well and truly like dead, and most of the community had long gone by that point. So it's nice to see Guild Wars 2 still breathing so heavily and kicking so hard and going so well after that same distance of time. But in addition to the sales, which, as you guys know, I don't really care about covering too tightly, there are some other new things, which I have picked up. There is the Timekeeper stuff. So they've released a Timekeeper package with this glider here, which I've not dyed very well, but is ridiculously intricate looking and kind of crazy. I'm sure it will dye better if I take the red off of it. And also, there's a Timekeeper outfit as well. Both have been really, really, really well received by the community. Obviously, basing on your tastes of how flashy and crazy you like things to look, you might have different opinions. Let me remove the dyes here just so that you can see. And yeah, you can match this up with the Timekeeper Black Lion weapons, which they've also had an update to. There's 2 new weapon skins, the Onyx and Golden Lion stuff. And here, I'll roll some previews through in the background for you guys as we go forwards. I really like the Onyx set, though. The Onyx set looks freaking awesome. So yeah, that's Gemstore. That's the 6th anniversary. Remember as well that when our characters hit 6 years old, we'll get mails with special stuff. And hopefully they'll do something interesting for that. But that'll probably be a video all of its own when they actually release it. Moving over to regular updates and stuff, which I've saved for last because it's really not that interesting on this. The Domain of Corner, enemy waves attacking during the Help Your Allies Secure Key Positions in the Awakened Inquis Facility event will no longer drop loot. Instead, you get a chest after the first 2 capture points are completed. So, more loot nerfs for Corner, I guess. What this practically means, I think, more than the actual loot, is the karma you get from Karmic Retribution and stuff. But maybe you were an Istan if you cared about karma anyway, or the Sandswept Isles if you cared about karma, which is where I go for my karma. But yeah, so that's what they changed with Living World. No big updates for that meta just yet. I really hope that they are going to hold to their vague suggestions. They might go back to that meta in the future. Fingers crossed. World vs. World, you remember they did some changes to Siege recently, more refinements. Shield generators now block all attacks from other Siege. They also say in the World vs. World section that they fixed a bug allowing players to recast racial summon skills and have more summons active than intended. Now, you're probably thinking about adrenaline mushrooms from the jungle and particularly the first 3 raid wings. But this is listed under World vs. World, so how are people doing that in there? And obviously it's more dangerous there. They also have the Misfire Wolf fixed a bug that allowed players to recast it and have more Misfire Wolves summoned than intended. Must be something related to some of the more recent changes, but obviously that matters when it comes to World vs. World, a pretty significant amount. Edge of the Mists. Now, here's a good one. Increase the size of the Mists arena. So, if you're out of the loop, we talked about this on, I think, the most recent update that they did. Right when the Festival of the Four Winds came in, they added a place that potentially GVGers can use to host battles in Edge of the Mists. And the special thing about it being Edge of the Mists is it's not like bound to server matchup or anything. I went in and did a tour on the previous video and it did look nice, but it was too small, blatantly too small, which is kind of the same old story we get every time they try and release something like this. Well, you can see it in the background. This is what it looks like now. It's essentially, as far as I can tell, the same thing, but they've scaled everything up a huge amount. Like, the whole thing is just, okay, yeah, let's just increase the scale. They haven't actually changed the positioning of the assets or the number of assets or anything like that. It's just all huge now. And the textures all look blown up and it's not necessarily quite so pretty, but you know, the GVGers didn't care about that. I mean, I haven't seen community response to this. As I get into record this video for you, I don't see anyone there in the footage. But that's got to mean good things, right? And again, it's another weird one for me. Like I said earlier in the video, it's just another insight into some of their procedures and how they make things. I had no idea that they could literally just grab an entire area of a map and scale it up wholesale to this degree. I mean, I feel like I've drank a shrinking potion or something and I'm still in the same place. It's just I'm tiny now. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and this at least lets them preserve the aesthetic that they created quite meticulously in the initial instance. You might say lazy, but you know, this was not really a main feature of either patch, so I'm just glad we had a change at all. And quite quickly too, let's be frank, very quickly, a fast turnover on that. Moving on, one I'm very happy to see, mount engagement skills will now downscale more in low-level zones. So, if you didn't know this, once you unlocked your mounts, if you went back to, say, Queensdale, Caledon Forest, Metrical Province, anywhere where you're in that level 1 to 15 range, even a little bit up, to be honest, if you use your Raptor Lunge or your Springer Slam or any of these abilities, they did absurd damage. The Raptor especially was really a big outlier for this, because it also vacuums all of the small core Tyrian mobs into you before either one-shotting them or leaving them a single auto attack away from dying. And you might say, well, whatever, people who have mounts are experienced players who have done loads of the game. Whenever the core experience and the leveling experience deteriorates and in these ways, it frustrates me. And the truth is, a lot of new people are coming to Guild Wars 2, slamming into Path of Fire straight away because there's mounts in Path of Fire and they're regular MMO players that only care about mounts, and then they're going back for their regular experience, and it just breaks the game. It breaks it in other ways as well. Guild Wars 2 is supposed to be about happy seeing other players around, but it's really frustrating when a dynamic event spawns that's an escort of some kind, and one dude on a Raptor just lunges where all the centaurs spawn in Queensdale next to this Dolyak, and he kills everything and tags everything, and you can't even get bronze for the event because he's insta-wiped out the lot. So it was a big deal in a lot of different ways. I had interacted with it and showed this off a ton on various streams. I did a few challenge series, in fact, that relied on using that to accelerate some of the early leveling that would otherwise have been quite boring for those challenges. But it was bad for the game, and I'm really happy it's gone. And let's hope they don't leave more updates like this a full year before they realize the integrity of the core experience has been affected. Moving over to Fractals, they've changed even more singularities. Molten Boss, Slowblind, Twilight Oasis, Uncategorized, Underground Facility, Urban Battleground, Volcanic. It's been a while since I regularly did Fractals at Reset. When I next go in there, I'm not going to know where any of these things are anymore. There's been at least 3 instances I've looked at update patches and they've said, oh, we've moved things around, and I've just not played in the interim. They also say a special singularity has been added to the Observatory Golem training area. I don't really know who uses this. I have on occasion for funsies. I've shot videos in that zone. But now I guess the addition of that singularity there means you can quickly reset and go back in if you're trying to test and practice things out. They also say people who are defeated in the observatory training area are now immediately revived at the checkpoint. Players no longer gain Flux Bomb, and enemies no longer gain Last Laugh in the underground facility near the plates puzzle. That's huge. I get that was one of the most frustrating experiences in Fractals, but it was kind of a skill cap thing. I guess too clunky, and the devs have found a solution now that involves just eliminating a instability in a specific section of a fractal, but not the entire fractal, which is quite an elegant middle ground between, you know, what the community's wanted with this and what the devs have obviously wanted. And then lastly, they fixed a scaling bug with the Aether Blade spinning trap consoles that blocked progress at scale 46. That's the vast majority of the patch, guys. They move on to some profession changes. Engineer, if you tried to place a turret in mid-air, it wouldn't work. Their mortar, and now that's fixed. The mortar kit, they fixed a bug that removed this bundle when it was equipped in Queen's Gauntlet arenas. I had no idea. Why just that one kit doesn't work in the Queen's Gauntlet? Spaghetti code, but has been resolved there. The Thief, they say that they fixed a bug with Thieves Guild that lets people recast the thieves and have more thieves than intended. Again, this isn't in the World versus World section, so what, adrenaline mushrooms? I don't know. And then finally, Revenant. This one is a bit of a head-scratcher, but there could be a story here. Citadel Bombardment. Reduced the burn duration per hit from 2 seconds to 1.5. Citadel Bombardment being your F3, the middle, you know, new Renegade ability. So what this could be is just to rein it in the power a little bit, obviously. But you might think, well, was this really the outlier skill? It could be when people manipulate bugs to try and get every single projectile to land on the same place. I believe you can, like, mouse over the UI to do that. I talked about that in a video a long time ago. But also, maybe... I mean, Underwater's an outlier for that as well, but maybe what it's really doing is just trying to remove a really big fringe situation, because as Boots and I speculated on the most recent balance with Boots, it could be there's a big Renegade update coming down the line anyway, so they don't have to do anything that fancy. They're just looking at this one fringe scenario. That would be my guess. There you go, guys. That is the August 7th release on Tuesday. I'm really impressed how we have gone since the corner release. Most Tuesdays, something new and meaningful has arrived. And I like that, if you're into balance and if you really explore a lot of the game. So, yes, I have very much enjoyed that. I hope you guys feel a little bit more in the loop. I've got a lot of videos I want to make today. And speaking of Fractals, I still want to get in on do a Deepstone video for you all, as I haven't shared that just yet. So, keep your eye out for all that good stuff. I'll be back very soon. Cheers, everyone. Let me know if I missed anything. And I guess enjoy collecting the new DesignAWeapon Contest things. Catch you next time, guys.